All right, welcome back to If My People Bible Reading. We are now in part 16, nearing the end of the book of Job, chapter 39, verse 2. Do you count the months till they bear? Do you know the time they give birth? The months of the year are important to us because we know the seasons of the year. So we know the third month of the year that we use these days. We started in January. Back in the day when the Bible was first put together, the book of Job, all the way through the time of Yeshua on earth, and later on until the Roman Empire kind of took over the Greek system and turned it into the Roman system of months and years. Because, like for instance, July was a made-up year, a month of Julius, and August was Augustus, and October was Octavian. All those months were kind of added in, but we do know, following the months as we do now, that the equinox, the fall equinox, usually falls in the 21st, 22nd of September every year, and you count your 10 days. You count your 10 days, and what do you have? You have your Day of Atonement. That's the only time you're supposed to fast, unless you do it for your own oath that you make. But the Father still wants you at least once a year, just once a year, to fast, and you fast on that particular day, and try to abstain from the things that make you human, like eating foods. Many people who can't do it because of diabetic reasons and so forth, it's an understanding, but your friends do. Then you add 4 days later, and you have your fall tabernacles. There's your fall appointed times. That is a never-ending covenant, never-ending promise, never-ending Torah command from the Father. And we know every spring that there's a new time of year there. Now, currently, the Jewish in Israel, they consider the fall as the new year, and so does the United States. And they thought, no, they don't. We're not Jewish, we're Christian. Well, then why is your fall always start over in October, and your new year financially for the federal government become November? And the same reason you vote the first Tuesday of November. You follow Yehuda custom, Israel custom, more than you think. More than you think. The springtime, up until President Lincoln and so forth, they were inaugurated in March. In March, which is the end of March, is the first of the year, which was spring. And there were many reasons for it. One of them happened to be the weather. It was hard to have an inauguration for president back in the early beginning of this country, um, in January, because travel was very difficult. Uh, but we still follow the appointed times. And another appointed time in the spring is the equinox, spring equinox. We count um, 14 days, and we begin Passover, Pesach. Then we have unleavened bread right after that, um, and then the rising of Yeshua on the third day, so 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th of the new year every spring. And how do we know that? We follow the equinox. It's very easy to do that. The moons, we don't follow the moons. You don't follow the moons because the moon tells you the months of the year. The moons are used for planting and agricultural reasons, and also for knowing from one month to the next. So the religions and the Hebrew and the Christian customs that follow the moons, I can only say, okay, I'm not going to argue with you because it's in your head. But by the way, most of the pagan religions, most of the heathen satanic religions follow the moon cycles. Might think about that. Ooh. But for those that are caught up in it because it's different, trying to be different from everybody else by having moon celebrations. Okay, I'm not going to ever do it. Once you find out the truth of many things, you don't go back in the pig trough and repeat yourself. And then 40 days after that's when Yeshua rose, and the 50th day would be Shavuot or the Pentecost. These are appointed times which we continue on with. Okay? All this, and we use the Mazarov system, which is we're studying here. Let's see, where did I leave you? I think 39 verse 4. Their young thrive and grow strong in the wilds. They leave and do not return. Who let the donkey go free? Who untied his ropes? I gave him the wasteland as his home, the salt flats as his habitat. He laughs at the commotion in the town. He does not hear a driver shout. He ranges the hills for his pasture and searches for any green thing. One small comment on that. It is amazing in these last days how many people who do have no appreciation or care or worship Yeshua are the very ones who worship the green earth and animals. And many people believe that dogs and cats are actually more important than humans. And these are the same people who keep their dogs like all kinds of dogs that love to run. Most dogs love to run. Big dogs, little dogs, fat dogs, skinny dogs, they all love to run. And where do they keep their dogs? In the cities, in apartments, locked up, without running, without being able to do anything in their apartment. And if they behave themselves and their urinal tracts can hold out until mama and daddy get home, then they go for a short walk, enough to go to the bathroom. But do they get to run and do they get to leap? Just like you just read in verses 1 through 10 here. Animals love to be in the wastelands, out there in the hills, out there in the mountains, not in apartments. But the very people who condemn you for being anti abortionist are the very ones who adore and take care of animals, PETA, and all these other groups. But they're the same ones, these same people, the ones that keep the dogs locked up, unable to run. Unbelievable times that we're living in. Verse 9. Will the wild ox consent to serve you? Will he stay by your manger at night? Can you hold him in the furrow with a harness? Will he till the valleys behind you? Will you rely on him for his great strength? Will you leave your heavy work for him? Can you trust him to bring in your grain and gather it to your threshing floor? The wings of the ostrich flap joyfully, but they cannot compare with the pinions and feathers of the stork. She lays her eggs on the ground and lets them warm in the sand, unmindful that a foot may crush them, that some wild animal may trample them. She treats her young harshly, as if they were not hers. She cares not for her labor that was in vain, for Elohim did not endure her with wisdom, or give her a share of good sense. Yet when she spreads her feathers to run, she laughs at the horse and the rider. Do you give the horse his strength, or clothe his neck with flowing mane? Do you make him leap like a locust, striking terror with his proud snorting? He paws fiercely, rejoicing in his strength, and charges into the fray. He laughs at fear, afraid of nothing. He does not shy away from the sword. Horses, especially war horses, unbelievable that for thousands of years men have used horses in battles and fights, and these horses will charge headlong into a situation, seeing the explosions, the fire, the bombs, the situations where people and animals are being shot out from under him, and a horse just keeps going. And he waits for the master to push him to the left, to push him to the right, and and to do things at the command of the rider. And that horse is devoted to the rider. Amazing, amazing animals. Verse 23. The quiver rattles against his side along with the flashing spear and the lance. In frenzied excitement he eats up the ground. He cannot stand still when the trumpet sounds. At the blast of the trumpet he snorts, and aha, he catches the scent of the battle from afar, the shout from commanders and the battle cry. It's just amazing what's been going on. If you're a historian person, and I just love the history. Verse 26. Does the hawk take flight by your wisdom and spread his wings toward the south? Does the eagle soar at your command and build his nest on high? He dwells on a cliff and stays there at night. A rocky crag is his stronghold, and from there he seeks out his food. His eyes detect it from afar. His young ones feast on blood, and where the slain is, there is he. Chapter 40. Yahweh said to Job, will the one who contends with the Almighty correct him? Let him who curses Elohim answer him. Then Job answered Yahweh. Now, after a couple of chapters here, Job gets to respond. I am unworthy. How can I rely on you? How can I reply to you what the Father just said here? I put my hand over my mouth. Verse 5, I spoke once, but I have no answer. Twice, but I have, and I still have. I will have, and I will say no more. Comment. And finally, Job understands that he and all mankind are sinners. They are vile. They are wicked in nature, and so is their heart. Self-righteousness and pride will bring every one thing down. But there's more to go. There's more to go as we go to Job 42:6. And the pride, man is picked up on the pride. And the pride is owned by Hasatan. Verse 6, then Yahweh spoke to Job out of the storm. Brace yourself like a man, I will question you, and you shall answer me. Will you discredit my justice? Would you condemn me to justify yourself? Did you have an arm like El, and can voice thunder like his? Then adorn yourself with glory and splendor, and clothe yourself in honor and modesty, and unleash the fury of your wrath. Look at every proud man and bring him low. Look at every proud man and humble him. Crush the wicked where they stand. Bury them in all the dust together. Shroud their faces in the grave. Then I myself will admit to you that your own right hand can save you. Look at the behemoth which I made along with you, and which feeds on grass like an ox. Read that again. Look at the behemoth which I made along with you, and which feeds on the grass like an ox. What strength he has in his loins, what power in the muscles of his belly. His tail swells like a cedar, his sinews and his thighs are close knit. His bones are tubes of bronze, his limbs are rods of iron, and he ranks first among the works of Elohim, yet his maker can approach him with his sword. The hills can bring him their produce, and all the wild animals play nearby. Under the lotus plant he lies, hidden among the reeds in the marsh. The lotuses conceal him in their shadow, the poplars by the stream surround him, and when the river rages, he's not alarmed. He is secure. Though the Jordan surges against his mouth, can anyone capture him by the eyes or trap him and pierce his nose? Chapter 41. Can you pull in the Leviathan with a fishhook, or tie down its tongue with a rope? Can you put a cord through his nose and pierce his jaw with a hook? Will he keep begging you for mercy? Will he speak to you with gentle words? Will he make an agreement with you, or to take him as your slave for life? Can you make a pet of him like a bird, or put him on a leash for your girls? Will traders barter for him? Will they divide up among the merchants? Can you fill his hide with harpoons, or his head with fishing spears? If you lay a hand on him, you will remember the struggle, and you will never do it again. Any hope of subduing him is false. The mere sight of him is overpowering. No one is fierce enough to rouse him. Who then is able to stand against me? Who has a claim against me that I must pay? Everything under heaven belongs to me. I will not fail to speak of his limbs, his strength, and his great graceful form. Who can strip off his outer coat? Who can approach him with a bridle? Who dares open the doors of his mouth, ringed about his fearsome teeth? His back has rows of shields tightly sealed together. Each is so close to the next so that no air passes between them. They join together fast one another. They cling together and cannot be parted. His snorting throws out flashes of light. His eyes are like the rays of dawn. We'll continue on in the next reading. We thank you for this opportunity, and we want you to continue on in your walk, and may you be blessed. Say your prayers every day, for the Father wants to hear from you, and you will hear from him from the Word. And this Word is through the reading. Amen.